If you've just joined us, we're talking to very special guests that have come to us from Cuba. They're known as the Cuban Five, and they spent more than 15 years in jail in America. They were convicted on spying charges, and they've told us their story of how, I guess, the politics between America and Cuba were used to punish these five people. Human rights groups, even the United Nations themselves said that these sentences were extreme, they were harsh, and that America really should have released them many, many years ago. And the trial itself was brought into question as well, whether it was fair and that they got a fair hearing. So we're going to continue to explore that conversation, why they received a hero's welcome yesterday, and the role that Cuba has played in South Africa during the struggle, but also since 1994. We see a lot of our young people going across to Cuba to get educated, and we're seeing Cuban professionals coming to assist us in this country as well. So we'll explore all of that, but before that, let's just go back to our last of a Cuban Five to say their opening thoughts. And Mr. Gerardo Hernandez, I'm just wondering, you're in prison, and the trial perhaps got some media attention, but at that stage, the world didn't know about the Cuban Five. And I'm sure that when you started your sentence, you probably thought you were alone. At what point did you start to realize, actually, we're not alone, there is this growing support for your group? And how did you start to receive that news? Did that continue to inspire you? Tell us about realizing that the world is on your side.
We never felt that we were alone. From the beginning, you have to realize that the Cuban Revolution has a history of not abandoning any of its people, any soldier. And we were aware of that, right? But of course, we were surprised when we started receiving many letters from a lot of countries, including from in between the US, and that surprises us. There were days when we received 100 letters,
wow.
119 in one single day, which was something very unusual in prison. And then different committees started being created in different countries. And there was a time when more than 100 Free the Five committees existed around the world. That was very encouraging for us and very moving. And even in the prisons, when prisoners started realizing who we were, we received a lot of solidarity there. For example, African American prisoners, when they realized that three of us have been in Africa, in Angola, all of us have the same experience, that people approaching us and telling, hey, I heard you're Cubans, I heard you were in Africa fighting, any problem you have here, anything you need, let us know. And that happened, we received that kind of reaction also from Cubans that told us in prison, listen, I came to this country to live here, but I have my family in Cuba, and what you were doing was protecting my family too. So any problem that you have, let me know, we count on us. That kind of reaction we receive all the time. I can give you an example. Back in 2003, we all in different prisons were taken to punishment cells again. For it. They told us that the plan was to keep us under something called special administrative measures in punishment cells, and they said it would be like that for a year, for 1 year. But there were many people protesting and making rallies in different countries and in front of the U.S. consulates, in the U.S., in front of the Department of Justice, the Bureau of Prison, and as a result, we served only a month there, and they had to take us back to the regional population. That is just one example of all the solidarity we received. And yes, we at the beginning were very surprised of the many samples of support around the world.
All right, we'll talk about what it must have been like to go back home to Cuba after so many years after this break, because we have to take another quick break. Stay with us for that.